Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jia. I'll be the moderator for this roundtable conference, which focuses on green investment corridors. And we have a huge diversity of the panelists over here from various BRICS countries and even partner countries as well. And we have Dr. Anand over here and Mr. Divarkar. We have Ms. Thatogatsi Mekoa over here. She is going to be one of our panelists. Ma'am, I request you to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. Okay, my name is Thatogatsi Mekwa and I am from South Africa. I am a third year international relations student at the University of UNISA, and I'm also a company licensed officer at a public or a private sector company called Impact Link Africa Solutions. And thank you so much for having me in this platform.
Thank you, ma'am. Looking forward to your insights for this event. Moving forward, so the agenda of this meeting is set on green investment corridors across BRICS countries. And as everyone over here is aware of the fact that green investment across BRICS is uneven and scattered. Each country has different rules, faces different risks, and uses different ways to finance green projects. And there is a lack of common standards that makes it even harder to raise amounts of foreign investment and for green investment to grow beyond national borders. And that is why we are over here to tackle this problem of green investment. And if I summarize it really quickly, it is just three, it is the problem exists in three folds. There is capital, there is projects, but there is not enough coordination. And that is why when we say green investment, we mean just three things. We need alignment, we need risk reduction, and third is the scale. I request our first speaker, Thatogatsi Mekoa, to share her views. And yeah, over to you, Thatogatsi.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me. Good afternoon. Our time zones are different, so to me it's noon. Okay. On my views of the green investment corridor, as we know, each and every country has different policies towards the green investment or rather green projects a country should do. On my perspective, I would like to talk towards the practical or rather the implementation level of the green corridor investment. One thing I have rather seen in the work that I've done is that we often, as mostly on the private sector, we often realize that we have a lot of restrictors that make us not be able to fulfill certain projects, or rather we are not able to scale on them. So the green infrastructure is actually not an ambition but rather a predictable concept that helps investors to have faith in that. And then within the BRICS plus economy, the most prominent factor of high transaction cost, project delays, and uncertainty of investments is actually regulatory fragmentation. Why? The functional alignment is the best way to regulate is the best way of regulatory coordination. I am sorry, English is not my best point, so I'll try to speak as much as I could. As I was saying, functional alignment is the best way of regulatory coordination rather than complete harmonization. And in the real world, this is starting with the recognition of environmental taxonomies and certification standards. When one BRICS jurisdiction has identified a project as being green, then there is no need to undergo extensive reclassification in a different jurisdiction. An agreed a BRICS plus green project certification would go a long way in lowering the due diligence costs and would speed up the investment at cross borders. This actually helps, well, projects in like small projects in the country that focus on semi-rural and rural areas which have what low knowledge about climate change, or rather the green infrastructure, to help them establish certain projects within either the school or your local community authority, because in South Africa there are many local authorities that handle villages, that handle semi-rural areas, um, aside from the urban the urban area part. So, and in terms of financing, I hope I'm not taking too much time. So in the process of such coordination, it can be operationalized with having the Mutual BRICS digital platform of transparency. And for then, we can actually certify green projects that will establish financial data and ESG performance. That will be all from me for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. You actually summarized it pretty well, amazingly, actually, where you tackled the question of repetition of work in different jurisdictions. So that is actually the real reason why we are facing so much problems. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for your opinions.
Okay. Thank you so much.
We have Ivan sir on the in the panels as well. He has just joined in. Sir, I request you to please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Evan. I'm a research analyst for CMSD. So today I'll be talking about the topic West Asia's role in advancing the BRICS climate finance agenda.
Okay, everyone, I'll introduce the panelists who are supposed to speak. We have Miss Milena Grigorian from Russia. We have Ivan, he introduced himself. We have Tatogatsi, she also introduced herself.
Hello, my name is Milena Grigoryan. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Thank you. I'm from Russia, as it was said. Thank you. And I'm a research associate at CMCD, Center for Multilateral Strategy and Diplomacy. And today I also want to talk about our topics. My topic is green investment corridors from Russia's vision. As I said, my name is Milena Grigoryan, and I'd like to start. Russia possesses significant green potential due to its vast natural resources for renewable energy. The country has high potential for hydro, solar, and wind power, which allows it to use revenues from oil and gas to transition toward the green economy. Russia ranks fourth in the world in total electricity generation, but in terms of the share of green energy, it lags behind leaders positioned in the second to third tier globally. During the period 2009 and 2024, the green energy market grew by 57.9%, and the total capacity of all market power plants reached 6.52 gigawatt as of January 1st, 2025. Russia operates over 200 green energy facilities, including solar, wind, geometrical plants, biogas installations, and small hydropower stations. By 2030, green energy production is expected to increase fivefold. Production of 20 million tons of hydrogen is planned by 2035 for export. At the same time, the installed capacity of some regions of Russia in 2025 are high initial investment in renewable energy facility construction, technical limitations, and insufficient key problem is competitive environment. The renewable energy market in Russia is largely dominated by major players, limited opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises to contribute to the industry development. However, Russia has significant opportunities for international cooperation in green energy, particularly within BRICS. This platform enables the development of joint projects, technology exchange, and interaction of green financing. Large leading companies are actively developing and enhancing systems and technologies across Russia. Most often, these companies operate on a regional basis, focusing on the advancement of specific areas within Russia. Key projects are also divided into large-scale implementation plans and initiatives across various parts of Russia, depending on the conditions of each region. Key alignment points and benefits for BRICS Plus countries. Strategic partnership within the BRICS Plus framework in green energy and critical minerals opens unique opportunities for each member country to accelerate development, enhance technological sovereignty, and strengthen economic resilience. The following proposals focus on creating a mutual beneficial ecosystem where the strengths of each nation amplify collective success. Firstly, it's harmonization of mechanisms, reducing barriers and accelerating projects implementation. Establishing common rules within the alliance directly benefits all participants by simplifying cooperation and reducing transactions costs. Creating unified standards for green bonds and mutual recognition of carbon units grants access to a new pool of climate financing, bypassing complex and often politicized Western verification systems. What I mean in practical terms is the operation of the BRICS energy platform allows partner countries to cooperate, like India and China gain guaranteed access to advanced technologies and equipment for renewable energy. Brazil and South Africa become key hubs for bioenergy and platinum group metals production. New members can integrate into the system of green financing and technology exchange using the platform to achieve their national climate goals. Secondly, creating closed-loop value chains within the alliance. Each country contributes its unique asset, jointly creating a system independent of external shocks. Division of labor along the value chain, the creation of green technology corridors provides practical advantages. One of them is resource-producing countries gain not just revenue from raw or exports, but also technologies for its deep processing and the creation of high-value finished products locally. And thirdly, strategic, financial, and technological autonomy, collective resilience. So creating our own system is the primarily long-term asset, enhancing the sovereignty of each member country, as I said. Settlements in national currency and new financial instruments reduce currency risk for all participants in trade and projects, provide access to a new asset class, BRICS green bonds, for example, for sovereign wealth funds and institutional investors within the alliance, directing capital towards mutual development, and create shared technological space, the standards of which are defined by the member countries themselves, not imposed from outside. So this collective negotiation, unified position, amplify the influence of each individual country in dialogue. The cooperation model within the BRICS Plus format is built on the principle of symmetrical mutual benefit. This approach transforms BRICS Plus into a powerful engine for the sovereign development of all its participants in the new global economic reality. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question, I'm glad to answer.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your insightful knowledge, and we are really very grateful as you took the effort to make this presentation for us. And I will move forward to Ivan Piyush Vargas to take over from to give his views about energy corridor and please sir, green investment corridor. Please sir. Thank you very much.
So yeah, I'll be talking about West Asia's role in advancing the BRICS climate finance agenda. So mobilizing capital, corridors, and coordination for the energy transition. So the West Asia country scope for this analysis are Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran. Turkey is not a BRICS member, but it actively engages with BRICS on energy, trade, and infrastructure initiatives. So why Turkey seeks closer engagement with BRICS would be economic diversification, alternative finances, strategic autonomy. It strengthens bargaining power in a more multipolar global order. So this is the executive summary. Here, what focuses the UAE launched a US 30 billion Atera fund. So the Atera Fund is a UAE-backed climate investment platform designed to use public capital to de-risk projects and mobilize large-scale private investments into clean energy and infrastructure. So these actions align with the BRICS emphasis on mobilizing accessible, consensual climate finance. And the problem statement would be West Asian BRICS members stress that only such financing can support green infrastructure at the required scale. So the three important declaration calls are timely, grants-based, and consensual climate finance. So timely. First one would say that climate finance must be available when projects are ready, not years later. Fast approval means disbursement and execution. It avoids long delays that cause cost overruns, miss investment windows, and project cancellations. Grants based are early adoption of projects. So it does capacity building and risk studies. And some climate investments don't generate immediate returns, and grants reduce fiscal pressure and debt accumulation. And the last one is concessional climate finance. It means financing is provided on softer terms than commercial markets, such as very low interest rates, long repayment periods. Why this is crucial would be like green infrastructure, then high upfront costs, long payment periods, and commercial borrowing is often too expensive or risky. So on the left, you would see an image of the UAE president holding hands with the UN climate change corporations. And here again, you would see the UAE as committed public and mobilized private capital to reach net zero. This includes renewables, grids, hydrogen efficiency, and climate finance. So the key alignment here would be West Asian strategies closely mirror BRICS climate finance priorities. And yeah, here you would see on the left, you would see a graph that says Iran's hydrogen research output that has grown rapidly over the past decade, but funding remains limited as there's a war. Unfortunately, there's a war going on there, and it's fossil-based production methods, and it highlights the need for concessional finance and international cooperation to scale more clean hydrogen technologies. And here you would see SWOT analysis. So SWOT analysis basically a strategic framework used to analyze strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So it evaluates internal strength and weaknesses and external opportunities and threats to inform strategic decision making. So going over the next slide, green investment corridors and critical minerals. So what does green investment corridors mean by? It's a coordinated cross-border investment framework that connects clean energy production zones with demand markets through shared infrastructure, finance, and regulation. So when you go, for example, would be Oman's proposed corridor exporting to Europe by 2029. And let's say in Qatar, there's Blatna Farm, and there's more scaling towards AI in climate finance. And other critical minerals would be Saudi Arabia's mineral wealth estimated at 2.5 trillion US dollars, and the Gulf states invest in copper and lithium abroad. And again, recycling and value addition are basically it supports local beneficiation. So to go on to the policy recommendations, it focuses on regional coordination, pilot green corridors, and expanded multilateral financing to de-risk projects, mobilize private capital, and build local clean energy value chains through BRICS-aligned corporations. And to end this, I would conclude that West Asia has both the capital and the strategic motivation to lead South to South climate finance. And South to South climate finance basically means developing countries invest in climate finance to other developing countries, then take in money from other developed countries. So, if its energy and mineral strategies aligned with the BRICS climate finance framework, the region can scale green investment corridors and fund a resilient energy transition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful insights. And what I'm gathering from Ms. Milena and from you is that the real question remains in what is actually breaking in practice. The implementation part is where BRICS countries are struggling. Meanwhile, we also have Harsh Rajput over here. He is the director of CMSD, Center for Multilateral Strategy and Diplomacy. So I request sir to introduce yourself and take over. Thank you.
Great presentation by Milena and Ewan. They are my colleagues at the Center for Multilateral Strategy and Diplomacy. And so, telling you a little bit about the center, we focus on research and analysis, particularly in the field of international relations and global affairs. We are more focused on Eurasia, and so is our team as well. We are present almost across 20 plus countries now, and we have a pretty good amount of individuals as well. And also, they come from backgrounds like they're researchers, young professionals, guided by senior professionals. So, yep, that's mostly about the center, what we have been doing. Apart from that, we have mostly worked with a lot of decision makers, so to say. At the center, we have been mostly focusing and working on with multilateral banks, sovereign wealth funds. So this is exactly the work which we have done in past as well, giving the recommendations and a kind of policy suggestions. So when it particularly comes to the green investment corridors, something we need to understand is there's not an issue around the kind of possibilities of climate action. The main major issue lies in climate financing. That is the financing of the initiatives. And when it comes to finance, it is also very much interlinked with the risk associated with it. So if you are able to crack the risk engineering, it becomes much more viable than to support all the initiatives and go for the climate action, so to say. So to give you a kind of an overview, there are majorly some major risks which are associated with it is like something like political, there's political risk, there's currency risk, there's regulatory risk, something which Milena covered as well regarding the currency risk in a way that de-dollarization is something very important nowadays. As some of you might remember, might know as well, that a lot of trade between India and Russia has been happening through in kind of local currencies, and the world it does is moving a bit off guard to the US dollar, but then it needs to also establish a much more coherent system, which kind of enables us to do cross border payments in much an accessible way. And then there's a lot of more questions around what would the currency backed by as well, and whether it would be digital or in form, if it would be gold, which would be used as backing, then how viable or how feasible it would be, what gold prices would be. So there are a lot of questions around it. But one major change, if we want to do something or work around, would be the currency for sure. Moving on, so then there's comes kind of an aspect where projects, something we need to also understand is project does not fail or does not get delayed due to the lack of capital, but more due to the risks which are uncovered or which are unresolved, so to say. So it is more around that apart from the capital, there's also a kind of, so when it comes to risks as well, discussing about the risk associated with the projects, there's a lot of buzz around the guarantees which needs to be provided along with it, that what are the guarantees which you are providing while working on those projects, and those guarantees can only be kind of given when the political system of the organization, like if it comes to BRICS, we know that there are a lot of kind of internal conflicts, be it India, China, or be it Saudi Arabia and Iran. So something we need a more coherent system, and this can only be done when the more power is led into the new development bank. So BRICS as a establishment or as a framework has a lot of various kind of organizations already. We have a similar institution as of World Bank, as of IMF as well. But then the utility is still a question because we are not utilizing it the way it should be. So the major then task is to give NDB more authority, so to say. So whatever then the capital comes in is through the new development bank, and it doesn't go through any country. So there's also the second point which I come up to, that is co-investments without co-control. And how kind of things happen is then if we it was only about capital or only about guarantees, all the development would only happen in the Middle East, or so to say West Asia, and the South Asia part of it, where China and maybe China and India can come together and fund their own projects. What's the issue in that? But when we talk about BRICS, we also need to consider a lot of members which are there in Africa as well, and in Latin America as well. And this, therefore, there also needs to be a coherent system where the guarantees are then taken by a legitimate organization. Suppose, then there's the entire question: why can't China fund the initiatives and directly solve all the problems? But then what happens is when maybe China comes into the funding, it comes with her own interest. So to ensure transparency, to ensure legitimacy, somewhere the NDB can take more charge and move in those kind of directions. Moreover, one more topic which I would like to mention is that there should be establishment of more thematic corridors than the geographical corridors. What I mean is, if we consider NDB itself, there shall be more kind of internal working groups. That is it the Latin America? Are we working on a specific topic? Then specific group decides about how much to fund in or what kind of initiatives to consider. So that's an aspect of the things which we can look forward to and as well. And then there's very one major kind of thing. I heard even mention South cooperation, but there's also one thing, that what will the kind of countries get out of it who are financing it. Also, I just want to add one thing when it comes to capital or financing. The real possibility of financing can be done through India, can be done through Chinese banks, can be, and one major player to look out for are a lot of Arab sovereign funds which can fund this kind of initiatives. And now the question about the return type of things, which can be also termed as the risk return engineering, so to say. So the solidarity financing or South financing or climate responsibilities wouldn't take in place because we are living in a much more fragmented world as of today. There are a lot of kind of shifts going on, and this is not exactly how financing is done. It's if it's someone is telling that we are doing a lot more into South cooperation, there are hidden interests of their countries in that. So in order to again be on a similar ground and take more on a legitimate approach, it would be then about providing dividends or providing concessions in that way, or bilateral deals, like also can be a one major step towards things. So suppose if I take an example, I think we have one more discussion today regarding critical minerals, and there's a huge enrichment of critical minerals, or so to say, the rare earth minerals in Latin America. If you if some of the people might know about that, there's a lot of Chinese presence in the Latin American region as well, which then maybe exemplifies and justifies their a much more kind of strength over the supply of critical minerals. So how things can be done is China or India or either the sovereign wealth funds put their funds into NDB, and then NDB, being a very independent statutory body, funds those responsibilities. So when the dividends come, it also kind of segregates in ratios in which the funds have been given by the member countries. So then it helps not only in the development of the the region which we are looking forward to, but also helps the country get something in return. And why, again, there's the question that why can't then maybe China do all the funding, or why can't India do all the funding? So what happens is that when we go through this kind of a regulatory framework, it establishes trust, which is a lot more important in today's world. I was just going through a lot of discussions that happens in Davos this week, and everyone might know about the speech which Macron gave, that Europe is much more predictable and much more resilient, much more loyal. But then there's also a side of BRICS where we are much more open minded. We are much more looking forward to the multilateral aspect of things compared to how maybe Europe might approach things, or might be the entire just China as a whole might be approaching things. So that's what which kind of makes us a little different, the multilateral aspect of things, and that we should cherish as well, is what I believe. So yep, that's mostly I think I need to cover about the things, and I would look forward to hearing from our other speakers about their ideas, and I'm also happy to take any questions if we have it, and any. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'd like to return to your point about co-investment without co-control. I liked how you framed it, and it is a common knowledge that new development bank is still operates with a operates largely with a dollar anchored system. So I like the way you framed it. And so my question will be that why isn't India or China or even Brazil for that matter financing it? Is the main reason behind this lack of trust or governance risk, or is there anything else that we are missing out?
See, indeed, actually, when it comes to strengthening the NDB, then it is quite linked with entire. So, NDB also has multiple aspects to it. There's a BRICS pay framework where maybe a common currency framework is. Then there's something called a CRM. I believe it's much similar to IMF, which if a country is on the verge of fallout, it prevents it. So it's like a safety net which ensures that there's no BRICS member going bankrupt in a way. And then there's the core NDB financing projects as well. So what happens is when it's about investments, who would take the lead? You see that when it's we talk about de-dollarization, if you know, a lot of the Chinese currency is now also used as a backing. So it's not simply that dollars can be printed a certain way or can be utilized a certain way. There's something that has to be a leverage over it. So what's the leverage over a dollar is, I mean, over other currencies, is that it's backed by dollars. So you might have heard that RBI sells dollars when the rupee prices fluctuates a lot, and they decided not to do now, and you see the price of the dollar compared to what the rupee is. So nowadays, Chinese currency is also being used a lot. Then in this case, what do you feel like? Who would take the back step? Would China take a back step? Like, would it tell that we are doing BRICS framework? We are launching BRICS currency, so you should use BRICS currency and not the Chinese currency. That wouldn't be the case. So again, it's a lot of mistrust might not. I think so. It's a little heavy word to use, so to say, but then there's no kind of ground on which everyone. So when you frame about the this kind of initiatives as well, or funding as well, everyone needs to be on a common ground. So that common ground at this point couldn't be achieved, so to say. And so again, it's then comes to the geopolitical reality we are in, where there's the differences of opinions on India, China, on maybe the other members, like I mentioned, one of them, Iran, Saudi Arabia. So it's all like that. That if fundings would come in, who would fund it and for what? So suppose let's take an example of this way. Would Iran fund the initiatives or let's not take Iran, but would Saudi fund the initiatives to build something in Iran. Like if we are making a trade corridor, if a trade corridor is being built, it also kind of empowers their economy. If it empowers their economy, they would have a much more resilient way to also move their military strength, or it kind of helps them become more stronger. So then where it goes about their geopolitical wills or their political motives. So that's the issue. It doesn't set in. So that's why if we want to start onto something at this point, it can be through a kind of mutual projects in that way. Some shorter projects, it can be in renewables energy. That's how the initiatives can be started. And because we are not like US, we can't start like. And this is again one thing, a reflection from Davos, that Board of Peace was started by the US president. A lot of members are also BRICS members, UAE, Saudi Arabia, so to say. But no other country can than US can start something like Board of Peace at this point. So when it comes to BRICS, we need to move together. We need to make a kind of a resilient system which can then make, like, at least start the buzz around things, and then we can look forward to that. Okay, we are going with major projects, something like that. So it's a slower path, but I believe that slow and strategic goes long compared to you go into a flushy kind of thing very quickly in that way.
Thank you so much, sir, for offering a direction that pushes us to think more structurally about the things. Now I would like Mr. Tamira to speak.
So I'm Tamrat Uspai from Ethiopia. Currently, I'm studying my master's in ecology in Moscow. So I have experience in youth leadership and climate change, green investment. So I just run on youth and green economy. So why this green investment corridor matters to youth, and how this collaboration would highly invest on green investment. First, climate change affects young people mostly because like the BRICS nation has the most populated and had like two-fourths of the population in the world. So the majority of the population is young. When there is climate change, when there is no foreign investment, the young people can look for jobs, can migrate here and there, and face like, risk as we, especially in Africa, are facing. So I've seen that climate change affects young people the most. Then green investments are, of course, uneven across big pillars and fragmented system, limited system, innovations and jobs are not a bit okay in African side, I can say, because I'm experiencing a lot in that. So as young leaders, we uh, inherit both the risk of climate change and the responsibility to shape the solution. So when green investment is fragmented, youth-led innovations struggle. Green investment corridor matters because to unlock the opportunity for young entrepreneurs, researchers, and community leaders across the globe. So what is green investment corridor by my side? A green investment corridor is not like just a financial mechanism, it's an ecosystem. It means there should be a clear rule, there should be easy access to funding, and the ability to scale solutions beyond the country. As we speak as a BRICS Plus, we have found out solutions beyond the country. So green investment is not only of the financial mechanism, we can like have clear rule, easy access to funding, and solutions uh, beyond the border. So why use leadership as a core pillar? So use leadership brings creativity, digital skill, and long-term vision. So as we see, young generations have faith, innovate, and they are active on digital skills, and they have this long vision. So it matters. It should be a core pillar for young generation to be included in green investment. Let me run on the Ethiopian experience on the green investment. Um, so Ethiopia offers a practical example like political leadership, long-term vision, and public participation on these concerns. So this year, on green energy especially, Ethiopia developed a very long path for years to climate resilience economy. The country has prioritized renewable energy, low carbon development, and climate resilience. Ethiopia's energy mix like hydropower, wind, and solar, which is renewable resource, and this allowed Ethiopia to reduce emissions, increase energy access, and position Ethiopia as a regional clean energy hub. And of course, we have this year has recorded a milestone. We have completed the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which is the largest hydropower project in Africa, and it is the system of green energy sovereignty and the long-term investment in regional energy security. We share energy to Uganda, to Kenya, to Eritrea, to Djibouti, to Somalia. So this shows like Ethiopian record in renewable energy and of course national ownership of green infrastructure. Beyond electricity, this Space Renaissance Dam has supported industrialization, regional power trade, and climate resilience development. When it comes to corridor development, Ethiopia has also launched an innovation corridor development initiative led by the Prime Minister and now widely adopted across the country. So this is a green urban space, sustainable transport corridors, public infrastructure, environmental restoration. So it integrates climate-friendly urban planning and economic development and community participation. This initiative is transforming to cities, to the regions, to the local communities. Now the Addis Ababa is not as maybe you can search and see Addis Ababa. It's like in transforming. No one expects Addis Ababa like that. It is like transformed from nowhere now to green and very shining city. And also, of course, we come on green initiatives. Ethiopia has also set a global record in environmental action this year with large-scale tree planting, reforestation, and landscape restoration. This initiative shows that how public mobilization, youth participation, and national vision can drive environmental impact at scale. So millions of people have actively engaged on planting trees, restoring ecosystems, and protecting biodiversity. So Ethiopia experience shows that green ambition exists, political will exists, youth engagement exists, and of course, the next should be long-term international financing. It should be sustainable, should be international, and predictable cross-border investment. As a BRICS state, we also collaborate with member states and experience Russia, India, China, Egypt, or all the members, and also other member states would share experience from Ethiopia. Thank you for your attention, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the regional perspective on green investment. The floor is now open for questions.
Okay, so from the discussion, we have gathered that financing is one of the most difficult aspects of green investment corridors. In this scenario, the landscape is also quite uneven because most of the times the larger companies are the ones who have greater access to financing and projects. So in this case, the medium and smaller companies sometimes get marginalized. However, they have a greater reach and impact regionally and locally. So I wanted to ask the panel that how do they see a public-private synergy coming into play in mitigating this problem?
Okay, from my perspective, um, the first thing I recommend is like a strong policy that can tie public and the private sector on which part of the development. Should private sector can participate on and public can participate. These policies frame everything. Policy drives everything. So strong policy, strong, clear and structured leadership can tie public and private sector. So they come up together and uh, have solution for this financial problem, especially because this private sector has their own system and the public has the resource. So the government should have this policy and tie that both private and public. Then we find out how to finance the projects.
So I would like to ask if there are any specific examples of this happening or specific avenues of cooperation as such that can be implemented.
Yeah. Uh, I would like to share also the Ethiopian perspective. I was in a political position for the last 6 years, and there is a share in the development that the private sector can have a share in a percentage, and the public can share the development. If like there is a road project in a specific environment or any hospital or any kind of project, so the government has the certain ratio to participate in private sector, so they can come and fulfill their part. Then the public and also have their share. This cumulative share also collected by the government, that the government finance itself so that the project is implemented. So uh, this policy it has the power to collect them to frame. So we all should abide by the policy, by the rule, and then effectively finance it. And of course, there is limitations. Um, I had also some sort of I've seen some sort of limitations. So it should be re the policy should be re-ratified, drafted, and acceptable for both private and public.
Thank you, sir. That was an insightful answer. Thank you for your insights.
Rohit, you can go next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rohit K.A. and I'm working with the Global Intelligence as an intelligence analyst. By the way, I liked all the presentation, all the speakers' presentations, but one thing which made me very much ponder about was like very interesting, which I felt was of Evan sir's presentation on West Asia and BRICS. So my question also aligns to Evan sir. So my question is, sir, you mentioned about the green investment and how the BRICS is expanding itself to involve the West Asia as well. So my question is that will these BRICS green investments speed up Iran's shift to sustainable energy? Because if you see, Iran has been facing due to these protests, it has been facing a lot of oil, energy crisis, and everything because sanctions have been imposed on them and a lot of internal disturbances. So, do you think that Iran's shift to sustainable energy amid sanctions can be achieved by the investments, the green investments done by the BRICS group?
Yes. So how I would go on about it right now would be, as I had said, yes, there's a war. Unfortunately, there's a war going on right now, and US sanctions as well. So I would say it like this. It's BRICS expansion into the West Asia would be like margins. It would be sanctions, but still binding constraints. So let's say US and secondary sanctions would restrict dollars access and technology transfers. Let's say in this Islamic banks in the Middle East and national development banks in UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. So they could do large scale private investment and even in renewables. So it could be achievable by small scale domestically financed renewables or state led projects. And I do hope the war gets over so it does get financed. So is that fine?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, sir, for answering. It was really concise and precise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ivan, and thank you, Rohit. Meenakshi, you can go next.
Thank you, everyone. So my question is for Mr. Harsha. Sir, since you have mentioned that there are risks like political currency and all, and also we have spoken about framework for trust. So how do you think BRICS Plus can structure a collective risk framework or a mechanism to address such political currency and implementation risks in cross-border, you mean like green projects? And also, by doing so, how do we ensure that these risk-sharing frameworks do not actually, disproportionately push or burden developing countries within the bloc? Thank you.
So, see, firstly, the thing is that whatever the risks are around, when I say political risk, it's about the clarity which needs to be there in the member states. Like uh, at this point, whatever the kind of countries which are associated with BRICS come from a very different geographical landscape, and also it's quite different in the way they do business. So first and foremost, there needs to be a kind of policy document. So, not policy document, but a framework, a regulatory framework, which then tells that what exactly needs to be done and what exactly, in a way in which the process should be done. So when I say that we can manage the risk engineering aspect of things or risk reward engineering aspect of things, it is mostly around the same. So, there were like some 156 suggestions which were made during last BRICS summit, and there were mostly like we would uh, we would aid in, we would look forward to, so more like that. So more there is a need of constructive work to be done in the group, and I think this time there's a greater opportunity with India hosting the BRICS. What can be done is this kind of frameworks can be established, and there needs to be certain clause in which how exactly the work can be done. So that also then helps in when we talk about the developing countries. If there's a particular framework, then it helps in a lot to move in the right direction compared to. So when I say we are looking forward to co-funding and not co-control, so that what is can be kind of ensured when there are a particular frameworks of moving on. So I think that's something which they should look forward to.
Thank you so much.
Atharv, you can go next. Thank you.
Okay, so first of all, good evening, everybody. I'm a third year diplomacy and foreign policy student interning at Global I. So, first of all, thank you so much for your insights and your respective addresses. My question does not pertain to a specific panelist, but to everybody in general, and whoever is comfortable to answer can go ahead. So, my only question is midstream processing is a very capital intensive and infrastructure intensive project. So, during this discussion on green investment corridors, what are your opinions about using instruments like green bonds or transition bonds, possibly through BRICS institutions to de-risk and finance these value chains?
Yes. So, if you're talking about green bonds, it could be used as a funding layer, like used to raise long-term capital for corridor projects. And like I said, there are Islamic Bank and national level banks in Middle East. So it guarantees first loss, risk investments and credit enhancement, and it does lowers investor risk. And you can always go for other institutions like public institutions, then national level bank or Islamic banks. So you could hedge FX risk on dollars or against the real, and so private investors can participate. Uh, I think if you have any more queries, you can go on, or I think I've answered it.
Hi everyone. If I may add on to the panelist Ivan, um, for the BRICS Plus community, adding on to the risks that he said, I would like to say for the BRICS Plus community, effective risk sharing. Effective risk sharing requires layered and shock responsive mechanisms, and also development finance backed current guarantees facilities can absorb political regulatory and early stage risks, particularly for long-term infrastructure such as renewable energy plants, green transport systems, and also grid upgrades. So, currency risk also remains a major barrier. Expanding local currency financing windows supported by regional hedging or swap arrangements can reduce exposure to exchange rate volatility while improving the predictability of returns. And finally, I would like to add that resilience must be embedded into financing structures and also integrating climate risk insurance and resilience linked financing, ensuring that the green investments remain viable in the face of extreme weather events, supply chain disruptions, and also market shocks. In context, it's not about eliminating the risk, but it's about reallocating it towards institutions which are best positioned to absorb it, which is essential for bankability and inclusivity.
So yeah, I do agree with the point that whatever you've said. So if you're talking about finance development and currency risk, it could go on about, let's say, blended finance, or again, most importantly, is political recognition. So the Middle East is going, let's say, Trump's institutions and Iran's war, sanctions, and again, currency risk mitigation. Now, the Iran's real is lower than dollar, as I've it- as I've researched. So again, there's currency risk mitigation here. So again, you could be local currency financing, or like you could be hedging foreign exchange. So this reduces tariffs. And again, in Qatar, there's a climate AI. There's again a AI-based institution for climate financing, and all these projects protect assets from physical climate risk. So I hope that that's fine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, panelists. We have a question in the chat. Everyone can open their chats as well. So the question is, what are your perspectives on carbon taxation as a layer policy instrument to drive renewable energy adoption? Any one of the panelists can answer the question. Thank you. Moving on, Nivedya, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Nivedya. I am finally a master's student in international relations. Firstly, I would like to thank all the panelists for their wonderful presentations. My question is specifically for Ms. Milena. Ma'am, in your presentation, you had mentioned about institutional fragmentation as a key challenge. So what, according to you, could be one step that perhaps BRICS could take for to better coordinate green investment without losing national autonomy? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. What about institutional problem? If I understand clearly your question, I think that Russia or any other country can propose the creation of such institution in the BRICS system, like BRICS plus green investment, some trust, and create just a fund for co-financing cross-border renewable energy projects, and the system where each participant contributes capital or some guarantees maybe. So after this conference, we will also talk about critical minerals, and there I also will talk about the main idea of creating such platform where countries can make like green bonds, as we talked earlier, and make everything about this financial problem by creating such trust, such institutional system.
Thank you, ma'am.
Arushi, you can go next.
Good evening, everyone. So, I'm Arushi, a second year BE Honors Political Science student. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for your valuable insights. So, my question is, how can green investment corridors be structured to support balanced and inclusive outcomes for all the BRICS economies, including smaller and less developed members? Thank you.
I think I can answer to that question. See, when it comes to policy, I believe your question was how it can be coherent for all of the developing economies as well, and which are a little ahead. It was that, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
It needs to be what can be done is that when we are financing, there can also be a weighted framework of whom to assign what kind of amount. So again, I would always pitch for this all work to be done by NDB itself and to by done by a credible institution itself. So once it's done by NDB, there can be a weighted approach where you see that how much is the need for that particular economy, in what way, like then so when decisions are made, it's there's a particular process of make decision making in which you see the associated risk as well, you see the potential outcomes as well, the social benefit, the economical benefit. There's a ton of things. So it can be a weighted version of things where developing economies could be given more weight. It can be given more kind of fast, like a kind of more head start, so to say. Then in particular that ways we can ensure equitability than equality. Equity is something which is much more needed in that way. So I think, yep, that can be an approach. Again, something to be kind of made into a framework and decided onto, and it also needs everyone's cooperation for that. Every member country needs to be decide onto that particular thing, and then accordingly this kind of policies can be framed, and we can look forward to something like that.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your perspective with us.
I would also like to add to Harsh, if you don't mind.
Sure, Milena.
Sure.
I also believe that one of the most important principle in the green investment corridor is firstly that we can, not we, countries can take this risk diversification and predict long-term financing thanks to these frameworks about what was we're talking, my colleague. And I think it's one of the main points to make this alignment regulated and predict in a long-term process. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, I would like to add, if I'm sorry for disrupting.
No,
I would
ma'am,
like to
definitely go
add
ahead.
I would like to add on to Arushi's point. She said something about how can the BRICS help the small developing communities or countries, if I remember the question correctly. What I would say is that for a more effective BRICS energy framework that will prioritize, well, three interrelated dimensions. Well, the first one is community embedded energy planning, which must not, it's not a must, but it can become a core principle rather than a peripheral consideration, which means it involves engaging local stakeholders early in the planning processes and integrating social and environmental assessments while recognizing communities as partners rather than beneficiaries. And then the second dimension I would like to add is the cross-border cooperation in the green infrastructure. This offers a significant potential in some way. I would like to add that a shared investment in renewable technologies, regional grids, and climate-resistant infrastructures can enhance energy security while reducing environmental harm. Crucially, such cooperation should be designed to strengthen regional resilience rather than deepen dependency. And then the last dimension I would like to add, skill development and local capacity building, which are essential for sustaining energy transitions. Energy projects should be accompanied by training initiatives, local manufacturing opportunities, and also pathways for youth and women to participate meaningfully in the energy sector. This does not support employment, but also ensures that transitions are socially anchored and economically inclusive. So with those dimensions I've mentioned, the three dimensions, it can reflect a shift from viewing energy solely as a commodity towards understanding it as a foundation of sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your thoughts.
I would like to thank all the speakers for their insights and to all the participants for their engagement. Today's discussion has highlighted the various points that BRICS Plus should tackle when dealing with green investment corridors, and we have also reached to various conclusions about it as well. And with that, we conclude this session. Thank you so much, everyone.